Welcome to the Root Cause Revolution podcast with functional and integrative nurse nutritionist and energy medicine practitioner, Audrey Christie.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Energy Medicine Monday, to episode 302 of the Root Cause Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Audrey. Take a quick second to introduce myself. If you're new here, welcome. I am a root cause clinician and I specialize in helping you to stop masking symptoms and start healing for good. I work with people who have tried it all with chronic symptoms, can't lose weight, hormone imbalances, psoriasis, autoimmune disease, all the things. And we work together using a non-traditional approach, including functional medicine, functional nutrition, naturopathy, and energy medicine. Now, man, it is kind of ironic that it has taken me so long to come back to the podcast. It is more popular than ever, and I have been so busy seeing one-on-one patients and working in the Root Cause Revolution group that that I've fallen behind on getting these episodes out. We're also in the process of moving from North Texas to South Texas, which further complicates the issue, but here we are with a new episode. My goal is to get all 3 episodes to you each and every week. Mondays, we do Energy Medicine Mondays. And today I want to talk to you about limitations. Okay? Specifically, I shared on my Instagram stories or a reel or something last week. I asked the audience, are you arguing for your limitations? And what I meant by that is that I often talk to people who will argue in favor of self-imposed limits. And when you argue for your limitations, when you're arguing for your self-imposed limits, guess what? You own them, right? Because if you argue for your limitations, then who is going to argue against them? Nobody, right? I have to argue against them a lot, right? So whatever you say that you can't do, you likely can't. You defeat yourself in your mind before you've even tried. Now, this might be as simple as adding more movement, adding some meditation, changing your diet, changing your lifestyle. You know, I work primarily with women and I often hear, I can't because. And we can come up with 5 to 7 solutions and they're automatically shut down, turned off, automatically disregarded as not being able to do it. And really the only limitation is arguing for your own limits, right? Now, if you think about it, if we had no limits, then where would you go? What could you do? How healthy and vibrant and full of life could you be, right? And it's kind of an interesting exercise to sit down and think about it or write it out in your journal. You know, we all have limits of some sort, right? I mean, some are self-imposed. Those are the ones I'm talking about today. Some are imposed on us by society, our parents, our life experiences, our friends. But for the most part, some are physical in nature. Most of those can be overcome. Some are mental in nature. And those are kind of the ones we're talking about today. But my point is that if you are stuck in your limitations, then you're stuck, right? You can't accomplish anything if you can't see past your own limitations. So that, of course, begs the question, how do we stop? How do we get past the mental roadblock and achieve? And what I'm talking about most cases is the health and wellness and vibrance and life that you deserve, because we only get one of those, right? But you could really apply it to anything, achieving your biggest goal or dream, right? So let's talk about a few ways you can do that. Actually, real quick, before we get into how you can do that, I want you to take a pit stop in how to know if you're doing this. And the easiest way to know if you're doing this, to know if you're constantly, everybody argues for their limitations some, right? But to know if you're consistently arguing for your limitations is when you have a problem and a solution is suggested, do you automatically disregard it? If somebody asks you to do something that is outside of the norm of your schedule, do you all automatically say no? automatically disregard, automatically your knee-jerk reaction is no, I can't. Is I can't your knee-jerk reaction to a lot of what you see, do, read, hear, etc. That is the easiest way to know if you're arguing for your limitations. I tend to tell my clients and patients a lot, like, hey, like, is this really a thing? Or are we maybe kind of in the habit of arguing for our limitations, right? Because like I said, it happens. We get in the habit of it, right? And I feel like kind of where we are now post, the past few years, we are more in the habit of arguing for our limitations because we always had that limitation available to us, right? And so now it's time to shift, to change, to fix that. So back to how to change it. The first way to change it is to monitor that internal thought process pretty vigilantly, right? So when you're in the habit of thinking a certain way, and in this case, we're talking about arguing for our limitations, it becomes our go-to way of thinking. It's very comfortable for us to fall into that thought pattern and to continue to think that way. And so it can be very difficult to notice when you're doing it. So you need to go on the offensive with your self-talk. You need to pay attention to the things that you think and say. You might have to write it down in a journal. And as soon as you come across a thought that is arguing for your limitations, consciously look at where you can shift the power to another thought. Now, the way when we start using tools like this, it doesn't matter if they're tools like this that are for your energetic and emotional mental health or physical health tools or nutrition tools, usually the way this works is you become aware of the tool. You're becoming aware of the tool right now. The second kind of phase of things after an awareness, well, we'll start with awareness of the problem, right? Then awareness of the tool. And then you'll notice where, oh, shoot, I should have used that tool. I should have written that down, or I noticed that I argued for my limitations here and I didn't go back and fix it. And then finally, that last step is where you really get it, right? And that's when things begin to change. But know that it's a process, okay? Don't get discouraged with it. So if the second part of step one, right, is it's monitoring and shifting your thoughts. Well, what's a thought shift, right? So a thought shift is if Susie is arguing for her limitations, right? She's thinking something like, I can't not have a glass of wine in the evenings because it's my only way to relax. When Susie catches herself, she should immediately shift to, I can absolutely make it through one night without a glass of wine to help me relax, right? I have, XYZ things that I could do. I could relax using these other tools. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it today, right? That is an example of how you interrupt a negative thought and you shatter that pattern. It takes practice. You got to do it a couple times and stop arguing for your limitations. Now, the second way you can do this, and this is a strategy that also takes practice. All of these strategies are going to take practice, is that you can stop arguing for your limitations by taking action from a place of knowing, not hoping. Okay? Knowing, not hoping. When you know that you can do something, there are no doubts, right? You know you're going to do it. It's inevitable that you're going to do it. And inevitable thinking gets rid of arguing for your limitations every single time, right? It's not a matter of basing your belief on what you've done in the past or hoping that you'll achieve a goal because you have what it takes. It's just knowing that it's inevitable, period. And I'm sure you've met somebody like this in your life. It may even be your toddler, right? You may have had a toddler that knew they could do it no matter what, right? And that's kind of putting a funny spin on things, but really it's understanding that you want this goal and you're going to do it no matter what. And I've had the privilege of working with a number of people that have, I'll use the example of psoriasis, for example, that have known that they are not going to have psoriasis for the rest of their life. And sure enough, we worked together and we did not, right? We got rid of it. And they are still, all these years later, free of psoriasis today because they knew without a shadow of a doubt that they could get better, right? The third thing for arguing for your limitations, or to stop arguing for your limitations, is to stop putting your abilities in other people's hands. Stop putting your abilities in somebody else's hands, meaning stop needing other people's approval. Here's the thing. Other people will never, ever, ever know what you're capable of. One of the things that I ask patients when they, in their like intro paperwork is, who is the most supportive of your journey, right? And I get a variety of answers. Sometimes it's mom, sometimes it's a partner, sometimes it's a sister, sometimes it's a cousin, sometimes it's, a best friend, right? And sometimes it's nobody. I have supporters, but I'm on my own journey. I read one just last week that was about, it was a beautifully written, very eloquent paragraph about how, I've got lots of cheerleaders, but ultimately this is my journey, and did it. And I was like, yes, 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 yes. You get it, right? You don't need anyone else's approval. And the sooner you realize that, really on all fronts, not just health and wellness, but on all fronts, the better you'll be. But you are the only person that knows inevitably what you are capable of. So try to avoid the temptation, and it's an easy temptation to put that on somebody else's shoulders, but to need somebody else's approval in order to believe in yourself. It's always nice to have other people's approval, right? I like to have other people's approval too, but it can never, ever be a reason that you don't go all in on something, that you don't go all in on whatever it is you're doing, right? And that means, and you guys, you may be surprised, or maybe you're going through it too, but some people will say, well, I can't change my diet because I need my family's approval, right? And I can tell you many, many years ago, I was the only one in my family of 4, that changed their diet. And then here we are now, and we all eat the same way. And I didn't twist anybody's arm. I didn't need anybody's approval. I made myself something different to eat for many, 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 many months, years even. We went through periods where it was me and the kids, and we had our side of the fridge and then hubby's side of the fridge, right? Where, if he had like cheese and junk food and some different things over there, and we had all the health food on the left side of the fridge. And eventually you just keep setting that example, keep believing in yourself, keep going on, and they convert, right? It's much easier than fighting about it, right? And then the last thing, number 4, the last way to stop arguing for your limitations is, as much as you can, surround yourself with people who are doing what seems impossible. This is one of the biggest values of the Root Cause Revolution membership, and even our free private Facebook group, is because you can surround yourself with people that are on the same journey that you are on, that have had success. Things that you were told were incurable and impossible and you can't heal, people are healing, right? But you have to surround yourself in a community of those people instead of a community of naysayers in order to find that success, right? You can create a powerful inner circle. You can borrow the powerful inner circle that I've created, come be a part of that. No matter where you live or who you are or who your friends are, you can seek out the people who are where you want to be and find out what they did. Now, health is a little bit different sometimes because it can be a little bit different journey for everyone, but it's the same idea. So I will close this with 2 thoughts. Number 1, stop arguing for your limitations. Notice where you are arguing for your limitations and fix it, right? And then secondly, know this. It is your job to believe in yourself. I believe in you, but it is your job to believe in yourself. There will never be anyone else, no matter how many people believe in you, there will never be anybody else who can believe in you in place of you, believe in you for you. You have to do it, and you can, and you will. And I'm so excited for you to do it. So thank you so much for listening. I'll be back with Wellness Wednesday on Wednesday. We'll have our live Q&A Friday. Wellness Wednesday, we are going to, I believe, and I could be wrong, but we're going to talk about women's breast health and mammograms. So I hope to see you then. Be well.
Thank you for listening to the Root Cause Revolution podcast. Be sure and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Ratings and reviews are always appreciated.